so let's bring in our next guest. We're super excited about this one. We came across his recent stuff because he has a new job that our listeners and we're very excited about. So we're going to bring in Eric Woodyard. He's a Michigander, just like the three of us, born and raised in Flint, Michigan. So first of all, thanks, Eric, for joining us.
No, I appreciate y'all. I got to look out for my Michiganders, so I appreciate y'all thinking of it.
No, for sure, especially when we saw your new gig, which I'll get to that in a second. Your new gig, growing up in Flint, being a Western Michigan alum, I was like, all right, I got to reach out to this guy. So yeah, the new gig is with ESPN. You've been with ESPN for a little while, doing a few different jobs, boxing, some NBA and stuff like that. But you're the new Detroit Lions insider for ESPN. So that's awesome for us. We love talking about our Lions. You know, growing up in Michigan, all about the Lions. So we're going to get to the Lions in a little bit. But the first question that I want to ask you is about growing up in Flint. So the three of us are from Corona, about 20 minutes from Flint. So we know about the city. Yeah. Corona Road, right into Flint from Corona. So we know about the city a little bit. We played a lot of Flint schools, growing up playing sports and stuff like that. Ted was around during, I guess, if you want to say the heyday of Flint. So Ted definitely remembers, back in the 60s and 70s Flint. But what I want to ask you about is, the Flint Pride. And I've lived in New England for a few years, lived down now in North Carolina for a while, and a lot of people who I talk to who haven't been to Michigan, haven't been to Flint, all they see are the bad headlines and, the stuff that kind of paints a bad picture of Flint. Can you talk about why that's just not like a fair way to represent Flint and why you're so proud to be from Flint?
I think it's just been embedded in us from the jump, we're just tough-minded. We love our city. From day one it's been put into us, to carry that Flintstone pride, that Flintstone tradition. And, I'm a little younger. I'm 32, but, I think it was passed down from generation to generation. But the generation that passed it down to me was the Flintstones, Mateen Cleaves, Morris Peterson, Charlie Bell, Antonio Smith. Being able to see and touch those guys and how active they were in the community and just being able to be around and pick their brain and, be able to call them big brothers, even when they won that national championship in 2000, they were so accessible. And I think that just lit a fire in all of us, especially at my age. So it's like, we just carry that tradition, man. We proud of our community. We know we got to be tough to make it out of where we're from. I know every city feel like, if we can make it from their city, you can do anything. But that's really a mentality here in Flint. And you see it, a reflection in all the different athletes that, come out. You say you're in Charlotte, so you see it in Miles Bridges. You see it in, Kyle Kuzma. You see it in Monte Morris. Clarissa Shields, the boxer. I can go on and on with athletes. Mark Ingram in the NFL. Malik Taylor, he's playing for the Green Bay Packers right now. So many athletes that are from Flint that represent us, and it's that tough dog mentality, and I think it's just been passed down from generation to generation, and starting with just the OGs of the city.
Yeah, you mentioned the Flintstones, so I know this is going to be a tough question, but if you had to pick one specific athlete that's come out of Flint, who do you think the best is? Is it Mark Ingram? Is it Charlie Bell? Who is it?
It's a loaded question. So people in Flint are going to say something totally different. Like it depends on the generation. So some of the older people might say Andre Rice, and they might say Glenn Rice. Some say Eric Turner, who never made it to the NBA. He was a high school legend, high school phenom.
Yeah.
Got Kelvin Torber, who was a high school phenom. Right now, you got Mark Ingram there, Clarissa Shields, what she's doing in boxing. So it's a generational thing. The best I ever saw, like just a player, was Corey Hightower. He never made it to the NBA, but he did get drafted to the NBA from a junior college, but he didn't make it past preseason. But he was the best player that I ever watched. I mean, I thought he was better than Mo Pete and all those guys, but he just, situations happen. But, I mean, that's a generational question. But pound for pound, the most accomplished would have to be Glenn Rice.
Yeah.
Eric, we're talking about generational things. This podcast is really very highly focused on the different generations. I'm the elder statesman, and, I go back when Terry Furlow was just an unbelievable player back in Flint in the day. And I also, you brought up Eric Turner. It was an annual affair to go to the state semifinals at Breslin on the Friday afternoon, and that was back in the days with Flint Central, Flint Northern, all those teams and great players. It was just a great era. It was definitely before your time, but Flint has just a great tradition of tremendous athletes.
Yeah, speaking of Terry Furlow, I was just did another podcast, and I also done a few stories over the years and talked to Magic Johnson about him. He was a big mentor to Magic Johnson. You know, he was a hell of a player, man, but like you say, his life was, you know, cut short tragically, but he was a hell of a player, hell of an athlete. Yeah, man, you can go back way back in the day, like Paul Krause, who played at Bentley.
Yeah.
He's in the NFL Hall of Fame. I think he's the all-time interceptions leader. So we got, you know, athletes for days, man.
Yeah, I know one story I always hear about. So my parents were both born and raised in Flint. They went to Flint Southwestern. I still have a bunch of family who lives in Flint. So I didn't grow up there, but I definitely know about Flint. But I always hear stories about Rick Leach. My dad went to school with Rick Leach, and then obviously he went to Michigan and did some other stuff too. So, yeah, it's cool to hear those stories about Flint. I mean, we're Michigan fans on this podcast, but I remember those Flintstone days with Mo Pete and all those guys you're talking about. It was definitely cool. And, you know, it's been a little while for the Big Ten to win a national championship in college basketball, but that's still really proud. I mean, you can tell. I can hear the pride coming from you, even though that was now 21 years ago. Those Flintstones, I mean, that's some Flint pride right there, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. It's so much pride. Like you say, even Rick Leach, you can go to Jim Abbott, a one-handed MLB pitcher. You know, it's a lot of pride, man, just from years and years. Chris Bird, the heavyweight champion of the world, you know, like, and that's just been embedded in us. Like, that's like, I know the water crisis and everything gets a lot of attention, but, like, you know, people that really know, you know, they know what's up. Like, a lot of people, I covered the NBA for years, so, you know, I would be in a lot of different places, and you say you're from Flint, you automatically get respect.
For sure. Well, you talked about the NBA, so let's your career. So I set it up that you are now with ESPN. You've been with ESPN for a little while, but now your title is Detroit Lions Insider. You're the NFL reporter for the Detroit Lions. Went to Western Michigan. Ted's a Central Michigan alum. Jared and I both went to Grand Valley. So yeah. I don't want to hear that Central Western rivalry.
Yeah, that Central Western rivalry. We all Michigan today, though. I ain't gonna hold it against them. But
End of the world parties, baby.
But let's so talk about your career a little bit. Like you said, you covered the NBA, some boxing. How did you kind of end up with ESPN? You know, covering the NBA, boxing, and then now with the NFL. Like, what's kind of your background?
Yeah, man, it's crazy. So, you know, growing up, everybody here wanted to play basketball, wanted to make it to the NBA, and I got to a point in high school. It's like, man, you know, I'm not good enough. I'm a good player, but I'm not good enough to go professional. So, I really, when I went to Western, I didn't know what journalism was. I read like the Slam magazine. I used to read the Flint Journal, and I read it and stuff, but I didn't know that was like a real job. You know, like I didn't know that was like a livelihood thing. So when I got to Western, like my first day, I graduated from Flint Southwestern in 2006. So I came to Western, and the first day, like fall welcome week, I asked what could I do to mix basketball and writing. They told me sports journalism, and I just kind of took off from there. So I worked for the school paper. Mm-hmm. I did like an internship for Slam magazine. Did some television interns, and when I got out of college, the Flint Journal hired me within 2 weeks of me being out of school, and I worked there for 6 years, able to develop relationships with a lot of young athletes coming up, such as Kuzma and Monte Morris and Caressa, and, you know, all the young Thomas Ross, Mark Henry. There was a lot of people that were coming up at the time, so I covered all those guys, and then I went out to Salt Lake City. I covered the Utah Jazz, so I covered Donovan Mitchell's first 2 years in NBA. They went to the playoffs both years. And then ESPN came and hired me in 2019. So I was originally hired to cover the NBA. I had the whole Midwest region. I lived in Chicago. I had the Bulls, Bucks, Pacers, Pistons, Timberwolves, you know, all the teams in that division. Mm-hmm. And when the pandemic hit, you know, I kind of worked remotely from Michigan at that point, and they thought it would be a good idea for me to try something new. They came to me with the idea of covering the Detroit Lions, and that's how I'm here, man. So I'm just try to give it my all. I never covered the NFL on a full-time basis, but I see it as a challenge, and I'm just ready to get going.
You know, we can tell that you're passionate about sports and do a fantastic job of writing, but also it's all about the hustle too, isn't it? I mean, you got to hustle to make it in that industry. Tell us a little bit about that.
Man, I went from Flint to Salt Lake City. I mean, if that's not
yeah.
I don't know what it is. You know, I had to do something to show that I really wanted it, and that was like the best decision I ever could have made. My mom actually, when I took that job, she said, like, what the hell is in Salt Lake City? Like, you really want to be there? And I saw it as an opportunity, and it was, like, the perfect timing. Now this team is number one in the league. When I went there, they was like, who was even on the team? And had I not took that opportunity, I wouldn't be here. So I think for a lot of young reporters and a lot of young journalists, you know, when the opportunity arises, it might not look like what you think it looked like, but if you pursue it and go after it, you know, it could turn into something amazing. That's the same thing same situation I'm in now. I didn't envision myself covering the NFL, but, hey, it's the Detroit Lions. I mean, some
Yeah.
people might see them as a sick team that's horrible, but I'm from Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So I take pride in that. You know what I mean? So had it been any other NFL team, I probably wouldn't even have considered it. But the fact that it is, you know, a hometown team, and, you know, they're starting from the ground up, you know, brand new head coach, brand new general manager, even a Flintstone on the coaching staff, and Aubrey Pleasant. You know, it's just a lot of great things that they have going on. Even if they're not the best this year, I think they're moving in the right direction, and that's something I like to be a part of.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's important to me, at least, just as a Lions fan, that the inside guy is somebody that's from Michigan, that's had to deal with all the heartbreaks that we've had over the years. I just want to go back to Flint for one last question. Do you have any problem with players, or I guess what are your just overall thoughts on like players like Kyle Kuzma, Miles Bridges, who maybe leave Flint when they're, you know, a top prospect or whatever and go to a prep school? Is that something you just wish didn't happen? Do you not blame them for doing that? What are your overall thoughts on that?
Well, Monte was one of the few that stayed. Monte won state championships and won Mr. Basketball at Beecher High School.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's situation is different. For Monte, that was the best for him. He was like a legend in high school, even at Beecher High School, and that's you know, Flint Beecher High School. Miles Bridges, I mean, he got a lot of more exposure. He actually wanted to come back home his senior year with his mom. You know, she thought it would be better for him to stay away, to stay away from the distractions and the crime. And you know, it's a tough town that's been hit hard. So, and with Cool's situation, it's the same thing. You know, he kind of wanted to get on the national radar. I don't really I don't knock it. You know, they continue to rep the city.
Yeah.
They don't act like, you know, if they go somewhere else, it's not like they're saying they're from that place. They're still representing the city. Cool still comes back, you know, hosts camps, Miles Bridges, all those guys. So I don't have a problem with it. That's kind of just a new wave of what's going on now. I mean, it's kind of unique what Imani Bates has been able to do by starting his own prep school in Michigan. But I mean, guys have to keep up with the national competition. So I understand it. I'm not mad about it at all.
Let me ask you a question about the meat and potatoes of what you're doing. You know, now that you're seasoned at 32, but you're starting new with the Lions, how do you envision your day-to-day? I mean, are you going to be hanging out at the Lions offices down in Allen Park? What would your daily routine be?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be attending practices. I'm going to go into it and give it my all. I mean, I'm not an everyday beat writer, which is something that's, you know, different from me. I have to find the most interesting national story. So it might not be writing off every press conference, but it's just finding the best possible stories and being at every game. I'm going to come give them my all. You know, that's what it is. Like, on a day-to-day basis, every media availability, I'm going to be there. Win or lose, I'm going to be there asking questions, trying to find the best possible story. So, that's if they need me on television, I'll be doing that. I was doing television a little bit on the NBA side. I had appeared on The Jump and, you know, been on a few different things. And I just see me doing the same thing on this side of the NFL, and that's just finding the best stories.
Quick follow-up on that. When you were first starting out and, you know, made it maybe to your first or second or third press conference and asked your first question, do you remember what it was and how nervous you were?
I was a little nervous because I'm like, you know, I want to make sure I'm not saying nothing crazy or, you know, I got the lingo right. So I want to say was it Brad Holmes? It might have been Brad Holmes.
Wow.
It might have been Brad. I can't remember specifically what I asked, but, I mean, yeah, I wasn't necessarily like nervous. I just wanted to make sure I didn't sound stupid or nothing like that. So, yeah, it was just it was fun though. We actually got a chance to meet Brad and Dan over the weekend. They had a rookie mini camp, so that was pretty cool. And yeah, man, it's exciting. It's an exciting time for the Lions. I mean, nationally, people might not see it that way, but I mean, locally, everybody's fired up about the new regime.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, and you're talking about the hustle, and I mean, listening to your talk, you're going to bust your ass, and I think you're going to fit right in with that new coaching staff, like Dan Campbell, because that's all he talks about is hustle, taking advantage of your opportunity. And then you were talking about going to those press conferences and trying to find the best story. And I've said if one thing is going to happen, and we've talked about it on the podcast, if one thing's going to happen this year, the Lions, there's always going to be something to talk about with the Lions because Dan Campbell is always going to win the press conference. Have you kind of seen any of that, or what's kind of the vibe you're getting, you know, early on from Dan Campbell? Does he seem like a guy that's going to get this team going in the right direction?
I think so, man. And I think, you know, nobody's coming in expecting the Lions to win a Super Bowl this year or make the playoffs this year. Everybody knows it's in the middle. We're in the midst of a rebuild, you know, right now. I think he has the right mindset. You know, even how they drafted this year. You look at how they drafted, starting with Nate Sewell. They built from the inside, you know, and kind of went to the trenches and done that instead of picking all the sexy picks, how a lot of the general managers have done in the past. I think that's something different. You know, you saw how many receivers have been picked over the years and guys that haven't panned out. So why not try something new? And I think it might be a slower approach to rebuilding, but it seems like they are headed in the right direction. They're taking their time to really do this thing the right way. And I think Dan Campbell is, from just the brief interactions I've had with him, he seems like a genuine person.
Yeah, he does. One last question I have in regards to your kind of past. I'm just looking at some of the names you've kind of interviewed. I mean, LeBron James, Allen Iverson, Carmelo Anthony, J. Cole. Of that list, is there one that you were maybe the most excited for? I mean, is it LeBron James?
Man, I mean, the most I've ever been excited, the first time I ever entered the NBA locker room was, I think it was like 2009.
Yeah.
It was the year Iverson was traded to the Pistons, and I remember walking in the locker room. I was a teenager at Western, and we just was talking about this trade in the cafeteria, and then I'm there in the locker room the next day, and it was just like seeing Iverson. Like, I was there so early, for the pregame access to the locker room. I was like the first one walked in, and Iverson was in there, and I was the only time I've ever been starstruck. So that was pretty crazy. And seeing Kobe Bryant, it wasn't like a traditional long interview, but that was great getting a chance to meet him. He's my favorite player of all time, so. Getting a chance to meet him and, share a quick moment with him, something I'll never forget. I really enjoyed interviewing LeBron. I got a one-on-one with him one time. He was at Oakland University when one of his friends was on the coaching staff. I actually got a one-on-one interview with him, which is very, very special to me.
Yeah.
And other than that, man, I mean, just like all the experiences, as I referenced before, I really loved being out there in Utah those couple of years and seeing that fan base and following Clarissa Shields, is one of the greatest women's boxers of all time. And, just a lot of the local stories, too, of people that are not, necessarily celebrities and high-profile athletes, just the local everyday stories. I told stories about, kids in high school who, dealt with being young parents and still trying to, play sports, and just all type of great stories that I feel like I've told over the years. And I cherish all those moments and memories.
Before we let you out of here, Eric, something that hits home to you that I saw on your Twitter feed. Tell us a little bit about hashtag Free Horace Peterson.
Yeah, man, that's something that's very, very important to me. Right now in Lansing, we have a big digital billboard that's going around kind of sharing my family's heartbreak and our pain of trying to free him and bring him home. And my grandfather has been incarcerated for 48 years. He was with a guy and didn't know a robbery was going to occur. Kind of went along with it, although he didn't have a pistol, didn't have a gun, was in a situation of being with the wrong person at the wrong time. And the guy he was with went in the back room and murdered a lady, murdered her for no reason. And my granddad wasn't in the same room, didn't have a gun. They both got hit with first-degree murder. And then I think it happened in 1973. In 1980, they made that law unconstitutional where me and you both can't go in a store and both get first-degree murder if only one person can pull the trigger. That don't make sense. But they didn't make it retroactive, which means all the beforehand, that went in under that first-degree murder, life without parole sentence, weren't released. So just imagine this. I compare it to, like, slavery, man. Like, if we abolish slavery, how can we not free all the other slaves that was free before that? How do they have to remain slaves for the rest of their lives? And that's what we're doing, man. My grandfather is a great human being. I'm a direct reflection of him. Everything I've done has been, from his tutelage. I share all of the information. I share all of my great moments with him. He's mentored me a lot throughout the years, and I feel like he could be a great asset to society, especially where a lot of kids are being mass incarcerated and, don't have nobody they can really lean on. I think he could be a good mentor, somebody who's done almost 50 years in prison and still keeping his head high, still staying strong. Everybody who out there, if you can, go to change.org and sign a petition. You can just type in Horace Peterson and send all of my social media as well. And yeah, that's something I'm very passionate about.
Well, if there's anything we can do to help spread the word, we'll certainly do that and wish you the best of luck. And is there any progress at all being made in the appeal process?
Yeah. We have an attorney, and we're fighting as a family. Like you said, we partner with change.org. We got some media attention coming on it. We're just trying to keep the awareness out there. And at the end of the day, whether it's clemency, pardon, the lawmakers are the ones in position to do that, and the leaders of the state, and they move at their own pace. So all we can do as a family is keep pushing and keep fighting. So that's what we're doing. All
right. Well, the best of luck on that for sure, Eric. Eric Woodyard here, our guest. We're wrapping up. Before we let you go, and again, we really appreciate it, bringing good stuff. Hopefully we can check in with you periodically to get some of your inside thoughts on the Lions. But tell our listeners best spot to follow what you do.
Definitely. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, E_Woodyard, WOODYARD. I'm on there. I'm active. So, yeah, man, just I would love to join you guys. Like I said before, I'm always looking out for my Michigander. Don't get enough respect, man, so we got to show each other love.
Hey, man, my dad, he retired from GM over there, and I married a Flintstone, so it's all close.
Okay. That's great, man. That's great.
All right, hey, we appreciate the time, and definitely look forward to talking to you down the road.
Appreciate y'all, man. Thanks for having me.
Yep, thanks, Eric.
See you later, Eric.
Success Group Mortgage and Servicing is a mortgage and land contract services company that is focused on your success. The home financing team has over 25 years experience in origination of all types of loans. Led by Jim Woodworth, Success Group Mortgage provides one-on-one service with a personal touch. You're not lost in the crowd like working with a mega-sized bank. Every transaction is given complete attention from the very beginning to the very end. Located in downtown Owasso, call today for an appointment at 989-720-4380 or find more info on the web at successgroupmortgage.com. Hankard Sportswear is the area's top clothing and more printing business. Located in the heart of Owasso at 116 West Exchange Street. Give them a follow on Facebook at hankard.sportswear. Nelson House Funeral Home's top goal is to serve the families in our community. The number one priority is caring for our friends and neighbors and being right there when you need them the most. Check out more information on the web at nelson-house.com. JJ's Excavating and Tree Service can help you with many homeowner items including skid steer work, footings, gravel work, and property maintenance. JJ's Excavating and Tree Service, they're also experts in tree removals, including stump grinding. Fully insured and no job too big or too small. Call Kyle Jones of JJ's Excavating and Tree Service at 989-277-9059 to set up a free estimate and tell him 3 Point Podcast sent you. The Owasso Speedway has been building families and communities through the promotion of short track racing since 1939. Saturdays are race days at the Big O, with gates opening at 4, qualifying beginning at 5, and the waving of the green flag and racing at 7. The Owasso Speedway and its super fast high bank 3/8 of a mile oval layout has thrills and action galore. Easy to get to on M21 between Owasso and Ovid. Stay up to date on upcoming features by following Owasso Speedway on Facebook at Owasso Speedway MI. It's family fun, and you'll always be welcomed by the smiling faces at Owasso Speedway. Rivals Tap House and Grill, the official sports bar of 3 Point Podcast. Keep supporting them by calling in your takeout orders. That's Rivals Tap House and Grill in Corunna at the corner of M21 and State Road. Advanced Elevator Company have expert field technicians for troubleshooting, repair, and installation of elevators. An area business leader and a huge supporter of the Corunna Public Schools. Advanced Elevator. The CorunnaConnection.com staff knows it's great to be gold. Keep up to date on Cavalier Nation at CorunnaConnection.com. All Corunna, all the time. Advanced Elevator Company are experts in the elevator business. They have the very best trained professional field technicians in project management for installations, troubleshooting, and repair of elevators in the entire Midwest. Centrally located world headquarters in the heart of Owasso, Michigan. The Janka family, longtime huge supporters of the Corunna Public Schools. Advanced Elevator Company, area business leaders, and a longtime member of the Shiawassee Regional Chamber of Commerce.
Great news to report. Sheridan Realty and Auction Company has built a new 7,500 square foot warehouse in Owasso. Now we are able to take all of your items and put it underneath one roof. Whether you are able to bring us a vehicle, an ATV, furniture, it goes inside. Go to SheridanAuctionService.com to see more. More importantly, stop down and see us at 1007 South Washington Street. You'll do better with Sheridan.